Hello, and welcome to Game Changer Live, brought to you by Connor's Coaching. And yes, we are live because live means that we don't edit our content, and it means that what you see is what you get, and that is authenticity. If I edited these videos, I wouldn't be happy until I looked like I was a Hemsworth brother, and that's a lot of editing. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with guests to keep it interesting, and our motto is Together We Inspire. So let's get inspired today. My name is Daniel Connor. I am a certified professional coach, an Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner, an ICF member, and a local community leader for my International Coaching Federation chapter. I'm also a business owner of Connor's Coaching. And my clients hire me because they feel stuck and they're ready to do the hard work to define and create a more fulfilling and purposeful life. Our vision is simple, that each day we wake up to a better version of ourselves reflected in the mirror. And today we're here to talk about self-judgments, and we all have them. Who needs them anyway, right? Well, there are some real big self-judgments out there, from the mild, what are people going to think, to all the way up to the imposter syndrome, the big monster in the room, right? And there are various different levels to which we can experience this. And because these are tied to mental wellness, because these are tied to mental health, I want to give a warning here that I am not a therapist. I am not a clinical therapist. I do not provide coaching around trauma. I do not provide therapy. What I provide is accountability for people who are on the journey to recovery on their own terms, without the help of a therapist, or in addition to the help of a therapist. So what I do is I work with my clients to set what their boundaries look like, and then follow through to see if those boundaries are set. That said, there are types of imposter syndrome that require therapy, and then there are other types of imposter syndrome that anyone can help with. And so I want to tell a story. I've already told this story once back in February. I'm going to tell it again because it really works with this episode too. Um, and it all it is another example of these self-judgments, that in that episode I talked about them in terms of them being lies that we tell, and they are lies that we're telling. But I, but they are self-judgments that are deeply related to how we see ourselves in comparison with other people. So that this story, in February, my husband's work had a amateur bake-off for Valentine's Day, and he made these pecan bars that our family loves and adores. He made the recipe his own. He researched it and tried some different things and came up with something that was truly magnificent, these brown buttered pecan bars. And he turned them in. He cut them very carefully, wouldn't let me help. And when he turned them in, he was one of three contestants. Not a great turnout, but he was up against a person who made a flan, which looked really impressive and really pristine. Um, and Chris got to taste it. It tasted really amazing. And he was also up against someone who had done professional level decorated cupcakes in their own box with a window pane on the top. Like, they were exceptionally beautiful. I know because he sent me pictures and he said, I have no chance. I have no chance of winning. He already felt that imposter syndrome. He already felt like he didn't belong with the group of people because he felt like he was delivering his homemade dessert in disposable Tupperware, those Ziploc, disposable containers. We reuse them, so they're not so much disposable as just we use them all the time. Um, but he was turning them in. He was embarrassed about the packaging. He was embarrassed that they were a little crumbly because that's the nature of pecan bars. He was embarrassed that because they were pieces of nuts and things like that, that they weren't uniquely perfectly symmetrical. Maybe they weren't exactly square. All of these reasons that he felt less than he should be. These were all self-judgments that he put onto other people. He projected them. They're going to think. They're going to think that I wasn't good enough. But it was him that was having those thoughts, because none of us are mind readers. We don't have the ability to actually read the minds of other people. So whenever we are telling ourselves a story where we're telling ourselves the feelings, interpretations, and judgments of other people, total bullshit. Even if you have a legitimate reason to feel that way, it is total bullshit. So he felt like he shouldn't win. And he did. He got first place. And immediately, his reaction when he got first place was to tell himself that the only reason he did that was out of pity, that they felt bad for him. We all have these self-judgments. There's not a single person on earth who doesn't. We hate the sound of our own voice. We don't like to look at pictures of ourselves. We hate the way our background looks on Zoom. We spend an inordinate amount of time making things look perfect to impress people who couldn't care less. It doesn't make a difference. Um, we convince ourselves that all of these thoughts are from other people, that it's all about them, that it's impressing them, that it's preventing judgments from them, that it's trying to control them. But in reality, these are self-judgments. And we think we're the only ones who feel this way, but I don't think that there's a single person on this planet who doesn't have some form of self-judgment. That's absolutely true. These are tied to how we choose to act in public, how we dress, how we smell, uh, what we can or cannot do in public. And I don't think we should get rid of all of the self-judgments that we have, because some of them keep us behaving in a way that's civil and social. But when they become untethered, when they prevent us from being the person that we want to be or we're meant to be, that's when they must be challenged, because they're causing dysfunction. They're causing a problem. I hear this all the time from my clients as a coach. I also hear it from my colleagues that are coaches when they're talking about their coaching business. We all feel like imposters in some way or another. We all feel like we're not enough. And for some of us, that is a massive weight to carry around. Because I hear it so much, I am very tuned into it, and I started to notice it more and more. I'm pretty good at detecting it now. And because I'm human just like everyone else, oftentimes I'm detecting it in myself. Noticing something, becoming aware of it, is the very first and most important step to overcoming it, to changing it, to challenging it, and to setting different habits that are going to suit you. So, what kinds of things come up as a coach? Things like perfectionism, things like needing to um, disregard successes. So one of the things that coaches do is we champion our clients. We say, "What a great job you did. Good job. You set this goal and you met it." And almost always when I'm working with a client, especially when they're newer, they will come back with, "Well, it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't really earn that." Really? You didn't? Because I'm not sure you should trust that voice. That voice might not be suiting you. You did this thing that you wanted to do, and that should be celebrated. All of my clients have had some form of imposter syndrome or high self expectations or perfectionisms or some other way that they judge themselves as needing to work extra hard just to pass or make do. I think that there are some real understandable reasons that we do this. One, it's a social mechanism to keep us behaving in a way that's consistent with our culture and our society and our expectations. It's mores, it's making sure that you have good hygiene and that you're dressed appropriately, etc. But I think that it can be taken to extremes. It becomes untethered from reality. It also becomes untethered when we start comparing ourselves to other people rather than looking at ourselves objectively. And it also starts with unreasonable expectations. And you know that I'm a big fan of taking those expectations and transforming them into goals or boundaries. It's also about adopting goals that are given to you by other people. So if you feel like you can't leave the house unless you put on a hat, and you go out and you're not wearing a hat and you have all these self judgments that, oh my God, my bald head is showing and people are going to laugh at me. There is an underlying issue there that maybe the reason that you were wearing the hat in the first place was because someone told you you needed to hide the baldness, that you adopted that as something that you needed to believe, and that it's not going to suit you going forward, that those thoughts, those worries, those fears aren't going to suit you. It also can come from ignoring our calling. So, a good example of this is if you were in a family where they wanted you to go into a specific career and they wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, or a scientist, and you had some sort of musical talent or musical gift and you wanted to be a ballerina or you wanted to be a musician. And so suddenly down the road, down your life where you've lived a life, you find yourself feeling anxiety about listening to certain types of music or enjoying certain activities, those deep rooted traumas because we ignored a calling that we felt long ago. It doesn't mean you have to go and pick up ballet shoes just because you like listening to ballet music. That seems like a really weird example, but hey, it's live and unedited and authentic. So sometimes I pick really weird examples. And it's not just about those self judgments that are about other people. It's this fear or anxiety that we're not enough. It's imposter syndrome. It's imposter syndrome in particular, where on the outskirts, from all objective points of view, we're high performing and successful, and inside we feel anxious and like a total fraud. I'm going to give you a quote from someone. I'm not going to tell you who wrote it until afterwards, but I want you to listen to the quote. I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find me out now. This person wrote 11 books. This person is worried that we're going to find out that they are a total fraud. And that person is Maya Angelou, probably one of the most prominent poets of our age. She has imposter syndrome about writing. I have a few do it yourself tips that I can give you today to help you overcome or start to at least be aware of these self sabotaging, self defeating, self judgment thoughts. And I am going to say this, though, they're not going to be as effective as working with someone because these are deep rooted subconscious habits. These are really tough to break on your own, hiring someone to help you usually works out better. If they're really problematic, if they're really rooted in past trauma and you really need to overcome that trauma, you haven't gone through steps 2 yet, your best bet is to hire a therapist, a clinical therapist, clinical social worker, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, someone that you can talk to who is trained in helping people overcome therapy. But if these are more mild and they're just frustrating enough, consider hiring a coach. Doesn't have to be me, but I'm also here and available if you resonate with me. And what coaches do is that they will help you stay accountable to your own goals around this, and also help you stay aware of these thoughts and these feelings, um, these intrusive thoughts, these intrusive self-judgments. So the do-it-yourself, I have 3 do-it-yourself tips, are not easy. They are not simple. They are easier said than done. And I am going to start with the easiest. The easiest is assume everyone poops. A little crass. But yes, even those perfect people that you wish you could be more like, that you admire, that you look up to, they have messy human experiences just like the rest of us. They also have imposter syndrome. If Maya Angelou has it, they also have it. It's extremely common for us to dislike the sound of our own voice. They probably hate the sound of their own voice too. It's also really common that we hate the way that we look in a picture or a photo, and it's likely that they do too. Everyone poops. That's the first one. The second one is meditation. And with this kind of meditation, this is just something that you could do really quickly, like a minute meditation, maybe in the afternoon or whatnot. Is and it's probably better if it happens pretty close to one of those self-judgment events, when you just become aware that you really beat down on yourself, or you're really uncomfortable, or you hear those critical words that are related to the thoughts of someone else. Because any time that you hear yourself saying someone is going to think something or someone is going to feel something about you, that is utter bullshit, and that is totally a self-judgment in disguise. It is not, you're not a mind reader. You do not have mutant powers. You're not supposed to go to the Xavier School for Gifted Mutants. You really should be just dealing with the thought underlying that issue, uncovering it and discovering the evil, insidious spy that lurks underneath that thought. So imagine that you're a complete stranger. This is the meditation exercise. You're a complete stranger, and you're looking at the actions that you took as if you didn't do them yourself. This is very difficult to do. I would say I would rate this out on a scale of 1 to 10 as a 7 of difficulty. And you're going to treat yourself as a complete stranger, replace everything about you with a completely different version, a different person, and ask 3 questions. How would you judge that person in reality? Would they get a pass, or an out, or an excuse? And why don't you deserve the same courtesy? It's a meditation. And part of the reason for this meditation is to put, basically, it's like Pinterest for your mind. You're putting an emotional attachment of curiosity around this feeling, so that the next time you find that self-judgment come up, the somatic marking that's created from the deep feeling and the deep insight of how I would actually feel about this with someone else is going to create new neural pathways, new somatic markings that is going to make it easier for you to fight it in the future. Um, and the last one is probably the most powerful, the most effective, but also the longest. It's going to take the longest to do, and that is to start a specific journaling habit. Before we get into this one, I am a huge fan of journaling, but I think that we get journaling very wrong as a society. I think that people think that they have to write the same thing in their journal every single day, or they need to only do it for bullet journaling, or they only need to do it for this, or they're only doing it for one activity. If you think about it in terms of food, journaling is that's like eating the same meal for dinner every single week for every single night for a week. And of course, it's going to get bland, it's going to get ordinary, it's going to get predictable, it's going to get unexciting, it's not going to produce results, and it's not going to be nutritious for the thing that you're doing it for. So instead, my recommendation is to have specific topics of journaling that you do on different days. So that Monday night you do a journal for gratitude, Tuesday night you do a journal for possibilities, maybe Wednesday you do a journal for defeating your self-judgment issues. So the way that we handle self-judgment with journaling is we start with and this is a process. It's like this is the house that Jack built. Like this is the door. This is the door to the house that Jack built. This is the wall that has the door that is in the house that Jack built. You know, that thing where you just keep adding onto it. You're going to start really small, and the first thing you're going to do for your new journaling habit is get a new journal for this, and you're going to record the times that you had negative thoughts about yourself and be specific about when it was, what it was about, what you were thinking, and what the judgment was. Just write it out, just record it. That's what you're going to do the first couple of times that you do the journal. That creates the awareness. That creates the awareness so that you have something to talk about in your journal. You're thinking about it. You're thinking, okay, what am I going to write in my journal? Oh, I did have this thought earlier today, and that's going to help create awareness down the road. The next thing you're going to do, and this one can be really, this could be a dark path for some people. So you can skip this one if it's not going to work for you. Use your best judgment for yourself. But my suggestion is to play it out and know that you're judging yourself through the eyes of other people, through the voice of other people, that it's a projection, that even when you're saying other people are going to think, it's actually you thinking those thoughts. And so you're going to write down what it is that you're actually thinking about yourself. You're going to write out what that judgment is. I'm lazy. I'm too fat. I'm whatever. And you're going to be explicit, and you're going to be mean, and you're going to explore those thoughts. And that is going to be really uncomfortable because no one wants to be talked to like that. No one deserves to be talked to like that. And it's a crying shame that we all talk to ourselves that way. So again, that is a difficult step to take. And um and being objective during that time is very difficult. It is difficult to let those thoughts out. The third step is that you're going to add in is to decide whether those thoughts are suiting you. Remember, I said earlier that sometimes these self-judgments actually benefit us, that they help us achieve what we want. I want to be a great coach. Well, that behavior is in line with a great coach. So I want to keep that. Or, no, that's preventing me from being a good coach. I don't want to keep that. You're going to decide. It's binary. Keep it or lose it. If you're going to keep it, you're going to decide how you're going to distill it into a core value and what that core value is going to mean for you. So you're going to say, This means that I value being able to speak my wisdom. This means I value a clean home. This means that I take pride in my appearance. And you're going to take that value and you're going to replace those thoughts with that value. Instead of saying, you look like a slob, you mess, uh, don't blather, don't start talking because people don't need your opinion right now. Instead of hearing those judgments from yourself, you're going to tell yourself your new core value and then decide how you're going to act in that moment. You're replacing those thoughts. If it isn't something that you want to take with you, if it isn't a core value that you're going to distill and carry forward, then you're going to cross it out and you're going to write replacement thoughts for it. How do you want to think about it? If it's the same thing about the slob, like I don't have I look like a slob going out. My shirt was ratty and whatnot. You know, that thought didn't suit me. That thought didn't suit me. What am I going to replace it with? I don't care what other people think. I am comfortable. No one is going to judge me that way. I'm the only one judging myself that way. You're going to replace those thoughts in your journal. So you're going to cross it out, write your new thoughts in your journal and describe exactly what the thoughts are that you're going to replace it. So again, journaling, the journaling activity is first you're going to start recording 2 or 3 weeks of recording the negative thoughts that you found yourself thinking, negative judgments. You're going to be specific about what you were talking about and when and where. Then, after you've gotten really good at that, you're going to add a step to that, and that is to play it out. You're going to write a narrative in your journal about what those thoughts really represent, how mean they actually are, how explicit they actually are, what it is that you actually think about yourself. And that is unfortunate. That is a difficult step. Remember, take that with a grain of sand. Those thoughts may not actually suit you. Once you get used to writing those out, though, then you're going to add in the third and final step, and that is to filter them. You're going to decide whether they go in the bin, whether they get replaced with something that's better, that's going to work with you, or you're going to distill them into a core value that you're going to use then later. You're going to replace those thoughts. Either way, you're going to replace those thoughts with something different. You're going to replace them with a core value, or you're going to replace them with different thoughts that work better for you. That was one option. The other one was meditating on objective thinking, to look at yourself as a complete stranger and ask yourself 3 questions. How would you judge another person in this situation? Would you give them a pass or an out? And why wouldn't you deserve the same? And then the third one was just to assume that everyone poops. And finally, just a reminder that if you really feel a roadblock with your negative self-image, your negative judgments of yourself, you're not alone. It's perfectly normal to go through that. And the first thing you should do is to look for a qualified therapist that you can afford that can help you through those thoughts, to talk about them. If they're not causing you dysfunction, if they're just a major irritant or a minor irritant in your life and you want to overcome them, you can also hire a coach like me. My name is Daniel Connor. You can find me at connerscoaching.com. That's CONNERSCOACHING.com. There's a link for that in the description for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in to the video today. I really enjoy these episodes and I dislike trying to come up with new topics. So if you have ideas, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you want to hear me talk about next. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because those things really help expand our content and get it to more people. And Leave a comment if you want about what inspired you the most today. I love reading those. They inspire me, they uplift me, and they help me keep going and move forward. If you want to contact me for coaching services, my website is in the description below, and you can tune in next week where we're going to have a guest who's going to share some of her executive coaching secrets. I'll see you then. Bye.